What's going on, Tigers fans? Sorry about the last weekend. Tried to be energetic, but at the same time, that freaking sucked. That was terrible. 3 games against Tampa Bay. You lose all 3 of them, and you lose them with a negative 18 run differential. Can't really sugarcoat that. That was pretty bad baseball. We're going to talk all about that and the series coming up with the Houston Astros on this episode of The Corner. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Here we go.
Here's a pitch on the way. He swings and fouls it off, and the man from Walla Walla will take that one home. Swing, there's a drive to left. That one is long gone.
Now, I might have been a small part of your life, but you've been a very large part of mine. And it's my privilege and honor to share with you the greatest game of all.
All right. That was terrible. We know it was. There's no way to sugarcoat it. When you have a negative 18 run differential after 3 games, you did not play very good baseball. And the Tigers just didn't play very good baseball. You got shut out on opening day, the first time that's happened since like 1989. Then you give up 12 runs on Saturday, which was brutal because of Spencer Turnbull and Eric Haas. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then you lose on Sunday and spoil a good outing from Joey Wentz. Just not a great start to the 2023 season. And if you're frustrated, you have every right to be frustrated. There's nothing wrong with you being frustrated about this team because that was terrible. But it's not something that we necessarily need to expect every game because there's no way this team goes 0-162. I mean, maybe it's possible, but at the same time, not going to happen. There will be some wins, especially with how brutal this first 40-game stretch is. There might be a lot more frustration before there's a lot more hope. Totally get it. You have every right to be frustrated. That was terrible. There was some good. Eduardo Rodriguez, not bad, needs to cut down the walks. Joey Wentz, pounding the strike zone, did pretty great. Austin Meadows, hitting the baseball. Torkelson, hitting the baseball hard, right at people, and into the ground. That's got to get fixed. So there's this mixed bag, a lot more bad than good, but still, you can see how this team might be able to compete, especially when you take into account some of the things they were dealing with this weekend. Number one, Shane McClanahan, maybe the best pitcher in the American League. Fantastic stuff, absolute gas, can sequence his pitches and drop speeds that just keeps hitters off balance. This dude is legit, and that's who they had to face opening day. Kind of give them a pass on that one because of how dominant this guy is. And then Jeffrey Springs on Sunday, that was a masterclass in sequencing. You could be frustrated. Like, listen, I get it. I saw it all over social media, right? Everybody on Twitter, like, fastballs down the middle. How are you not hitting fastballs down the middle? I get it. I understand it. But at the same time, you got to look at what Jeffrey Springs was doing on Sunday. He was setting them up with the fastball to then throw the changeup out of the same release point 10 to 12 miles slower. So then they start looking for a changeup, and guess what? 91, right by him. That's how you end up with fastballs right down the middle, not getting swung at, because they weren't looking for it. And I even tweeted on Sunday, I was like, for goodness sake, could somebody please just try to hit a fastball to right center field, even to right field, just so that you're staying closed and driving the ball the opposite way? But they wouldn't do it. It was brutal. It was an awful start to the season. I'm with you. Totally with you. Wanted some wins. Not getting the wins was very frustrating, especially when you want to talk about the amount of strikeouts that they had, and one of their focuses was controlling the strike zone. That did not happen very much this weekend. On the opposite side of the ball, on the pitching side of the ball, they also walked an incredible amount of players. It was insanity. Spencer Turnbull came back from Tommy John surgery and could not locate his pitches to save his life. I get it. It's his first time back. He's going to struggle coming out of Tommy John surgery. That's just the way that it goes. But he was not helped by Eric Haas either, who went away from his fastball and tried to get cute. And you can't get cute when you're trying to win baseball games. I think for Scott Harris and for A.J. Hinch, it's imperative that they find a way to put their foot down with grown men, which is a difficult task. But there's definitely ways in which messages can get sent. And listen, am I saying that people need to lose their job after 3 games? No. I also saw all the overreactions on Twitter's like, is it time to panic for Spencer Torkelson? No, for goodness sakes. It's been 3 games and 11 at-bats. He's barely got 300 bats in the MLB as it is. Can we just all collectively take a deep breath for a second? It's not time to panic, but at the same time, you are allowed to be frustrated. So as Scott Harris, as A.J. Hinch, I would start sending some messages, like putting Matt Manning as the 5th starter after a brutal spring training where he went 14 innings and had over a 6 ERA and over a 2 whip. Yeah, you're not going to be a top of the rotation guy if you are putting up those numbers. Oh, and by the way, Eric Haas, you're going to bat cleanup on opening day and be so excited for that, not do anything, get dropped to number 9 in game 2, and then completely out of the lineup in game 3? That might be a message sent. Oh, and Jonathan Scope, who you look like you're swinging a tree trunk in the batter's box. You're late on every pitch. You can't get the bat to the ball. You're not even playing game 2. Okay. I'm okay with that. Because there has to be a way to send a message to these guys. Look, it was brutal. There's a stat out there that the Tigers had the franchise record now for run differential after 3 games. A record in which they set last season and then broke this season. Woof. That's terrible. Not great. Not awesome. Something has to be a little bit different. And there's a message being sent to these guys that, listen, at this point, under this new regime, losing is unacceptable because it has to be. We've endured enough losing. This organization has been a loser organization for 7 years now. Something has to change. It started with Scott Harris being hired. He has a plan, and I trust that plan for now. But something's got to change. We have a series coming up against the Houston Astros. Again, not great. But listen, the first 40 games of this Tiger schedule is entirely brutal. Entirely brutal. Rays, Astros, Red Sox, just to kick off. They also have the Orioles, the Brewers, the Cardinals. I mean, all within the first 40 games. And then May 16th, kind of eases up a little bit where they've got the Pirates and the Nationals and then the Royals. So these first 40 games, expect a lot of what we saw on this past weekend. Because it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, especially if they're not hitting the ball. We went through an entire season last year with a very anemic offense. And this season, we're kind of seeing the same exact thing. Through 3 games. Again, I'm not overreacting. Again, I will not sit here and start pushing panic buttons because it's only been 3 games. There's 159 left. We'll be okay. Through these first 40, though, I'm looking for a mark of like 15 and 25. If they can get 15 wins out of these first 40 against these really good teams, that's going to be probably like the baseline. And anything above 15 is going to be icing on the cake. At least that's the way that I'm reasoning it in my mind. If we could be 10 games behind 500 after 40 games, the schedule starts to lighten up a little bit after that. Then you can start to see this turnaround. And, oh, by the way, May 16th, middle of May, that gives some of these vets that are kind of on the fringe 6 weeks roughly to make some hay. And, oh, if they don't, well, guess what? We can bring the Ninja Turtles up. We can bring up Andre Lipsius. We can bring up Parker Meadows May 16th and go, oh, here's the lighter part of our schedule. Scope, thanks for your service. See you later. You other guys, see you later. And then maybe things turn around. I don't know. I can't really tell you, but what I do know, so we got 3 games against the Houston Astros. We're going to face their top pitching, Hunter Brown, Framber Valdez, Christian Javier. We're going to luckily see a lot more Kerry Carpenter because Brown and Javier are both right-handed pitchers, and it would just be really nice if they would just let Carpenter hit against lefties too until he can't, because his splits are not terrible against lefties. So it's going to be interesting. They play tonight at 8:10. You've got Matthew Boyd squaring off against Hunter Brown, 2 guys that combined through 33 and a third innings last year. So it's 2 guys that are trying to establish themselves or reestablish themselves in Matthew Boyd's case. It's going to be interesting. You could be looking at 1-5 to start the season. Maybe they shock the world and get a series win, but not based on the way that they played in Tampa Bay. Buckle in, because these first 40 games are going to be rough. But we'll be here with you the entire way. I do want to remind you, though, that wherever you're at, make sure you're following and liking Detroit Sports Nation, specifically on YouTube where our content drops. Make sure you have subscribed to our channel, liked this video, shared this video, and then pound that bell for notifications when new editions of The Corner do drop. I'm AJ Reilly. I'm staying hopeful for right now, though losing does suck, and I get it. I'll see you again on Thursday for another edition of The Corner.